Councillor Robinson, you're now live on YouTube.
Good evening, welcome to the December Rushcliffe Cabinet meeting here on the 14th of December. Apologies for absence, please, Ms Tambini.
There were no apologies for absence this evening.
Any declaration of interest? No. Okay, minutes of the meeting on the 23rd of November. Could I have a proposal to accept those minutes? Councillor Moore, seconder, Councillor Edderving. All those in favour? Councillor, thank you very much indeed. Citizens' questions.
There are no citizens' questions this evening.
Thank you. Opposition group leaders' questions. I believe we've actually got two questions, but neither councillor is here to ask those questions. So I will start off with a question from Councillor Thomas, which is actually to me anyway. The residents have huge concerns about nationally based, commercially driven companies managing their estates, the extras they charge and the lack of control over this. To what extent is Streetwise gearing up to take on the management of open space in new developments, and could this be a better option for residents? The response on this question is that there does need to be a management company in place to cover these estates, and Streetwise actually is not a management company, nor in the position to be one either. Streetwise do undertake work for management companies, but they have to bid for that. But I stress the control of that work is all done through a management company. We have no follow-up question on that. So I'll go on to the next one, which is from Councillor Walker, which will be directed at Councillor English. Councillor Walker isn't here tonight, so I will ask that question. Due to the long delay in the Environment Act, along with the growing frustration of our residents at not being able to recycle glass or food waste curbside, what action will the council take to explore the delivery of these services for local residents? Councillor English.
Thank you. The council continues to liaise with DEFRA, the County Council as the Waste Disposal Authority and other district collection authorities via the Notts Joint Waste Management Committee on the progress of the Act and its implications for waste collections arrangements throughout the county. It is hoped that national clarity will be provided by the government early in the new year, so the council can work with key partners such as the County Council, as any nationally imposed change must be implemented at a waste system level and not unilaterally, as the council cannot act as a disposal authority and it also must act in the best interests of the council taxpayer. I'd like to clarify that Rushcliffe Borough Council is the highest recycling authority in the county, and the glass bring sites across the borough recycles more glass each year as compared with curbside schemes of other boroughs in the county. Because the bottles are colour sorted at source there, they're actually made into new bottles rather than being made into road material.
Okay, thank you. The follow-up question on this: will Cabinet push for more certainty regarding the Environment Bill, as dates, timescales and costs to councils are still unknown? Councillor English.
The council will continue to press for clarity on the key waste reforms contained in the Act through a number of routes, including the District Council network, where recently the relevant minister was invited to attend to provide an update.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. So that concludes those questions. Moving to item 6, review of investment assets. Councillor Edderving.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. The asset investment strategy was launched 4 years ago, and this paper refers specifically to those assets which form part of an investment strategy and are designed to generate an income from which the council can use revenue to help keep our council taxes down. It's appropriate that we look at the investment portfolio on a timely basis and assess its ongoing performance and future predicted performance. I'm pleased to say that the report states that we do not have any high-risk investment properties at this point in time, but ongoing monitoring will ensure that this should remain the case. We've always strived to maintain a good balance of properties, and as far as possible, either within or close to the borough, with the emphasis on industrial, office and warehouse-based investments. The portfolio generates an annual income of around £1.6 million, and 35% of this 1.6 million comes from some of our most recent purchases. This report shows that across the portfolio, they continue to perform well, even those highlighted as medium risk, generating around 7% returns, which is still a good return on our investments. By and large, the medium risk properties are those identified as requiring relatively high future maintenance, which in itself is an investment to ensure that the properties are fit for purpose ongoing. The methodology for assessing the risk rating has been looked at and approved by the Governance Scrutiny Group prior to coming to Cabinet. Paragraph 411 of the report picks out the medium risk properties and outlines the reason for works required to maintain the properties at optimum standard for the marketplace. I won't go through each one, but I will emphasise again that even those at medium risk continue to project healthy returns. So I therefore propose the recommendation that Cabinet supports the methodology of assessing the Council's commercial property portfolio on an ongoing basis, and B, agrees that a review of the commercial property portfolio be undertaken every 2 years, reporting back to the Governance Scrutiny Group and Cabinet.
Have a seconder, Councillor Moore.
Thank you. It's a comprehensive review by Councillor Eddie, and I just had one point that actually we've got 99 investment interests. We've got 54 in industrial, 25 offices, 16 retail and 4 leisure. And it's always important, even in your own assets, your own investments, you've got to keep on top of them, got to maintain them, got to keep the value up, and got to make sure that they're suitable for letting and kept up to modern standards. So very happy to second this recommendation and look forward to perhaps being part of the investment review whenever we hold it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. I think a balanced portfolio, particularly with the pandemic pressures, has been a very significant strength for us. And I think when we were looking at these assets some years ago through the investment strategy, it was always a major priority for us to ensure they had that balanced portfolio. So I'm delighted that we're showing that. We could probably do with one more investment then to make it 100, couldn't we? We've only got 99. But the returns are very good, and I think it's a real compliment to the council that we managed to get this portfolio together, and it's doing very well. So proposed by Councillor Edwin, seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour to accept that report? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Streetwise annual report, which I will give. This report covers Streetwise Enterprises Limited and Streetwise Enterprise Trading Limited. It was agreed that the annual report would actually go to scrutiny and also then go through Cabinet. On the 25th of November, it actually went through the scrutiny. The issues that were raised are on 4.11 in the report, which covers a reduction in the carbon footprint, the level of social value being delivered by the company, future recruitment of the board, quality of services provided across the borough, and the ability to secure work following the loss of the Metropolitan Housing contract. And with that feedback that came to the scrutiny, it was agreed at that meeting that they didn't raise any serious concerns about its governance, with the exception of the board membership, and also agreed its status as an ongoing concern. I think it's important to point out that there is a core contract with the authority at nearly £1.8 million. This is going to be looking at renewal in summer of 2022. I think it's also worth mentioning through this report, it has been incredibly tough, as for many businesses over this last 2 years. And it's a huge credit to certainly Mr. Carter as Managing Director, supported by Mr. Daniel as the non-executive director, that they've certainly kept the business going, and they've overcome a lot of those challenges. You'll see that in the report, that's in Appendix 1, there are very detailed operational information that's given. It covers governance, performance, and obviously the narrative from Mr. Carter in terms of the actual business itself as it goes forward. And it's also supporting that report are the audited accounts for up to March 2021. I don't intend to go in those in detail. Suffice to say, it has been incredibly challenging, as we know, both from the operational side, financial side. That's reflected in that report. But they do, as scrutiny have said, give a very good service to the council over this period. It is going to be a very important period for Streetwise going forward. So with the major contract due for renewal in August of 2022, I think the report reflects the challenges that Streetwise have faced, and as I said, it's really reflected in their finances, in very, very tough margins, in terms of cost control and some of the challenge going forward. So, for instance, the green agenda, renewing things like their assets with the vehicles, etc., is going to be very, very expensive. But that's certainly a challenge for many, many businesses. So I would like to move the recommendation on page 21, item 2, as set out in the paper. Forgive me, just getting that up on my screen there. It's recommended that the Cabinet accepts the Streetwise Annual Report 2021 and considers the comments made by the Government Scrutiny Group. Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Robinson. I'm always pleased to see that when Streetwise is discussed at scrutiny groups, the feedback is generally positive and they continue to provide a great service. It's absolutely right that the government's group have highlighted the need to strengthen the board membership. And it's also essential that Streetwise continues to deliver both as a financially sound entity and as essential service provider to the council. So I'm happy to second the recommendation.
Any other comments at all? Okay, so with my recommendation, I've set out there item 2, seconded by Councillor Edwin. All those in favour to accept that recommendation? Thank you very much. It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Radcliffe-on-Soar power station site. Now, this is really a snapshot update on the Radcliffe-on-Soar site itself. It is a very strategic site, both obviously for the borough, for the region, and indeed nationally. So it's very important, I think, that we do bring regular updates on the site. It's worth mentioning before I just go through the details that this is ever changing. Literally, it changes almost by the week due to the nature of the projects that we are sort of discussing. I'm just going to cover 3 items on this. First of all is the East Midlands Development Corporation. Second is the Freeport, and thirdly is the STEP project. In terms of the Development Corporation, it was recognised in the government IRP report that the Development Corporation would be the delivery vehicle, and to progress the Development Corporation, more information will be coming in the planning bill. The current focus is in recruitment of non-executive posts, including the chairman, and also to refresh the Alchemy Overview Board there as well. It's working in sort of strategic areas, so the connectivity with HS2, natural capital net gains, energy, health and skills, and also, health and the NHS, and also skills. So we'll bring in further updates in terms of Development Corporation as we go forward. As I say, it's quite an evolving picture. Same really with the Freeport. The outline business case went to, as a first pass, to government in September. Feedback was actually given then back to the Freeport with a view that the full business case is due for submission in January 2022. The Chief Executive and myself attend regular board meetings on this and getting the updates. With the key work streams is certainly in terms of the governance of the Freeport, business rate retention and transport modelling, which are incredibly complicated and quite challenging issues that we need to actually see there. The other one is looking at really any alignment between the Freeport and the Development Corporation would seem to make sense. But again, more work needs to be done in that area. The third area to just update is really on STEP. This is the nuclear fusion project. It was shortlisted early this year amongst 4 other sites, so there are 5 sites in total, to host the STEP project. And as previously reported in Cabinet in March 2021, that the UK Atomic Energy Authority are actually assessing this site and doing very detailed information as to the one they want to go forward. I should say that it was a very significant asset for this site across obviously Freeport Development Corporation and STEP, that the HS2 major hub will be literally right next to that site as well. And that should have very big sort of implications for the Radcliffe site. So I'll be bringing back an update in February next year, certainly on the STEP project. The decision will be made at the end of 2022, concept designs 2024, construction 2030, and completion 2040. So this is really a very important national strategic site. And also the UK is very keen to show leadership across fusion and research. The consultation runs to the 24th of December of this year, and the County Council will be preparing the feedback to the responses through the consultation. So these are the three key projects I wanted to update to the Cabinet on the Radcliffe on Source site. So I'd like to move the recommendation, page 53, section 2, that's noting the progress and endorsing the Council's continuing involvement. Thank you. Do I have a seconder on this, please? Councillor Edevin.
Thank you again. There's so much potentially being developed on this important site within the borough, and I'm pleased that we continue to do everything we can to bring forward a successful redevelopment of the site. I think the current projects, which Councillor Robinson has outlined, serve to underline how the borough can benefit in the future. And whilst none of the outcomes are guaranteed, it is so important that we continue to support our endorsement and endorse our involvement in the redevelopment process of this site. So I'm very happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Edwin. Any other comments about the power station at all? Okay. As I say, we will be bringing regular updates. Things literally, the Chief Executive and myself are in meetings tomorrow, Thursday. So literally, it's almost like day updates, really, isn't it? With this site, it's a very complex and challenging site, but as Councillor Edwin said, there are huge opportunities of many thousands of jobs, new investors coming in, and we just have to make sure that we do consult correctly and that we do bring people with us. It's not just a case of just sitting there and saying, right, this is what's going to happen. So the consultations and the feedback is incredibly important as we shape the future of this really important site. So if we could take that then to the vote then, please. All those in favour of the recommendations? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Going back to the next item, which is item 9, climate change strategy for 2021-2030. Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm really pleased to be bringing this climate change strategy to Cabinet. It's the overarching strategy, and it will be our public-facing document, and it draws together the range of policies, plans, action plans and strategies that set out our corporate ambitions and our leadership role across the borough and in our local communities. Adopting the strategy will provide a clear demonstration of how we will work with partners to deliver our borough-wide ambition to become carbon neutral by 2050, and our own ambition as a council to be carbon neutral across our operations by 2030. And we are putting a huge amount of effort and energy into delivering these targets. So I hope there's nothing in the strategy that comes as a surprise. All the key documents have been through scrutiny and or to council. And I very much hope that we'll be able to support the adoption of the strategy wholeheartedly as it's presented this evening. At paragraph 2, the recommendation at B is that the Director for Neighbourhoods has delegated authority to make minor revisions to this strategy in accordance with our objectives. And I just want to draw this out really, because at the last full council meeting, of course, we reiterated our very strong commitment to deliver the nature conservation strategy. And in this document, we have a chapter on biodiversity. The chapters aren't numbered, but it's the penultimate chapter, as I hope you've all had a chance to have a look at it. And it recognises the crisis that the ecology of the planet is facing. So reflecting on the council discussion and the commitments that we made there, I would like to propose that we revisit the wording in the introduction of this document to make clear that we recognise there is a climate emergency and an ecological crisis, and to ensure that our commitments, the commitments set out in the biodiversity chapter, receive joint billing with the climate change ambitions. We did recognise at the council that the degradation of the natural environment and changes to the climate are inextricably linked and that they must be tackled together. And I think it's important that this document holds true to those commitments and our understanding of that joint challenge. So if Cabinet is in agreement, I would like to move that we agree the recommendations at paragraph 2 and that we request the Director of Neighbourhoods undertakes work to bring forward the messaging with regard to the ecological crisis as reflected in the biodiversity chapter up front into the introduction of this document.
Thank you, Councillor Brennan. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor English.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I don't think I'm going to be speaking out of turn if I say that every Cabinet member, every ward councillor, regardless of political party, and certainly the management team at Rushcliffe are very keen, passionate and committed in addressing the issues that are presenting huge environmental and ecological challenges to our planet. So this new 21 to 2030 strategy will provide the framework for our forward journey of ambition and determination in doing what we can to restore and repair generations of damage done to our natural world. We do have our 2030 and 2050 dates in place to become carbon neutral, but they're not target dates, but to be achieved by dates. With the right actions and commitment that the strategy clearly presents, we can arrive earlier. And this is not just a local council obligation, but it needs everyone to undertake personal responsibilities. As the document says, together we have the power to do just that. This council's commitment is easily evidenced in their delivery of numerous eco-friendly projects, such as this building, the construction of the new Bingham Leisure Centre and the crematorium, all which have been designed to achieve maximum efficiency as a priority in design. Thousands of free trees have been planted in the borough, and currently hydrogenised vegetable oil is being evaluated to reduce vehicle emissions by up to 90%. There are many more. Councillor Brennan makes a persuasive statement by recognising the crisis our planet is facing, and that we must be addressing the ecological crisis and the climate emergency as an interrelated commitment. So I'm happy to support a change in wording and to the recommendations set out in paragraph 2. I'm also pleased to note that the strategy will have the benefit of regular reviews by the Council's Community Scrutiny Group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Moore.
Well, just to add that it's beholding on all of us, all of the Cabinet, to get behind this strategy, including me wearing my financial hat. And to quote Peter Linfield, finance and these kind of projects don't always go together. But what I can say is that in some of the budget work that we've been doing, the overarching climate strategy has been built into the budget. And 2 points here that we've topped up. Well, we've got £1 million climate change reserve budget, which is substantial by any standards. I doubt whether many other local authorities have got that. And also we did a budget of £50,000, which to plant trees and wildflowers. So it's been built into that. You'll hear a little bit more in my report next, where the financial implications are coming. But in the longer term planning up to 2030, it will be part of the financial and budget process to support it, because you can't do what we want to do without financial means. So it's important we're financially stable, and B, that we can budget for this money to support your proposal. So that's all I wish to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely endorse Councillor Brennan's amendments as well, in terms of reflecting full council debate and recognising obviously that the two really are intertwined in terms of the climate and the biodiversity as well. It's really important. And there's a lovely phrase that I picked up in the summary that's in this report, and it says repair, restore and rebuild our natural world. I think that really just sums up everything, doesn't it? That's what we've got about, and it's about the delivery. It's about making sure it permeates into all our decisions, actions of this council, and that we take leadership only by example. But as always said, it isn't just the government. It's got to be done by Rushcliffe, but it's also individual responsibility as well. And I think this report really just gives really good direction. Ambitious targets in there as well. The comments say it's not just about 2030, it's beyond 2030 as well. So it's an ever-going journey that we must do, as I say, to build the new really environment that we all want to live in and pass on to successive generations. So any more comments at all before we talk to the vote? So with the recommendation, with the amendment moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor English, all those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Okay, moving on to the item 10, the revenue and capital budget monitoring for 2021-22, quarter two. Councillor Moore.
Thank you. This is the budget update report for the first 6 months of 2021-22. And for me, it's the most positive one I've had the pleasure of reporting for a long time. Let's hope the financial scenario doesn't deteriorate with the latest COVID reports that we're hearing about. In the report, there are several mentions of the word diligence and that we maintain a tight control over expenditure and quickly identify any impact from external changes. I think this is a very important statement at the moment. So I'm pleased at the moment we have healthy reserves. Regarding the report, the current budget was set anticipating an adverse impact on the council's finances, which appeared pretty sensible at the time. However, business rates, government funding and budget efficiencies have helped to reduce this impact significantly, leaving us with a budget efficiency of 673,000 net of reserve commitments. A request has been made for approval to transfer 100,000 of this to boost the strategic growth board budget next year, a request I very much approve. There are also, goes back to my previous comments, there are also plans to spend £1 million on improving the vehicle fleet and at the same time purchase vehicles which will be more efficient and improve our commitment to the carbon neutral agenda. Again, a very sensible recommendation. On the capital spending side of the report, as usual, there are carry forwards, totaling this time 8.29 million, which are due to slippage on the two big schemes at Bingham and the crematorium. However, these figures do still show our commitment to these capital projects. There's a lot of detail in the report, and some of the negative and favourable variances show the effect of COVID and the effect in the rapid upturn in the economy. I recommend you all have a good look at these over the Christmas holidays. Overall, this is a very favourable financial report and shows the excellent work of officers in both managing COVID and managing the recovery. So I'd like just to read the recommendations. Recommended the Cabinet approve the attached report, noting the expected revenue budget efficiency for the year of 673,000, incorporating the potential appropriation of 1 million to a vehicle replacement reserve to be included in the medium-term financial strategy. The use of 100,000 in budget efficiencies to boost the strategic growth board budget next year and to support the community recovery from COVID. The capital underspend of 10.2 million, of which 8.4 million is to be carried forward, 8.29 to the 2022-23 capital programme and 125,000 to the 25-26 capital programme. The acceleration of £40,000 capital provision for play areas from 22-23 to from 22, so it's been brought forward from then to next year to meet commitments. The expected outturn position for the special expenses and the planned use of reserves at paragraph 4.2. I'm very happy to propose those recommendations.
Please, Councillor Edwin.
Yeah, I certainly endorse Councillor Moore's comments, and especially pleased to see that we're able to put extra money into the growth boards and also for helping businesses. I don't really want to say any more on the actual report itself. I think Councillor Moore's covered that very comprehensively. But I think we should thank Peter Linfield and his team for their ongoing dedication and prudent management of the borough's finances. I don't think we sometimes don't realise how lucky we are to have such a well-run financial team, and we thank you for that. So I'd like that to go on record. Thank you, and happy to second the recommendation.
Well, as asked by Councillor Moore, asked us to read it over Christmas. I'm sure we can have a quiz come January, can't we?
I think
20 questions about the budget.
I'm very happy to run a quiz on that.
So this goes up to the end of September, this report, doesn't it? So
Yes.
It doesn't reflect, obviously, the new variants and everything else.
No.
And I think as the report says that we need to be flexible, certainly going forward, because it certainly looks like there could well be an impact. and we may have to obviously be reflecting that in this quarter. There's a good chance that could be in many forms, whether it be on capital projects, grants, or anything else like that, couldn't it? So it could have an impact. What's also very good to see is not the need for borrowing as we've gone forward. We obviously said that there could be possibilities, but with the careful management of the cash flow, it's good to see that we won't have to go externally to borrow, and that the big capital projects, as crematorium, the Bingham Leisure Centre, will be funded internally as well. So I think again that's a real bonus for the authority, because certainly we only came out of lockdown in July, wasn't it? We were certainly looking at a pretty dark picture there. So I think that careful cost management, and as we've seen, some of the services such as Edwarden Golf Course, for instance, has done very well out of this. These small things have made quite a difference. Obviously, planning fees as well, I noticed. Incredible, the revenues from there that we didn't plan for. Obviously, the cost pressures on and the time pressures on planning is a different story, but certainly from a financial point of view, which we're looking at here, it's been a real bonus and a benefit. I'd also just like to back Councillor Edwin's comments as well about the team there, Mr. Linfield was saying, just certainly our appreciation that the huge amount of work in terms of managing the finances in incredibly difficult times. And as Councillor Moore said right at the start, this is quite a really pleasant, I'll say, very positive report, should I say.
Very positive,
isn't it? From where we were looking at beginning of the year, wasn't it, coming in, where we just didn't know, did we, where we were going to be. So I think that's a huge plus. Okay, so report is delivered and recommended by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Edwin. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Lovely. So that concludes the items on the agenda tonight. So I'd just like to add, for all members of the Cabinet and for officers present, to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year in January, and I'm sure tackling whatever challenges that lay ahead of us. So thanks very much, and have a